Meeting order. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This Mike.
No, he's available, but
His mom's having their Christmas something today.
we'll make a motion to accept minutes for Tuesday, December 17th as written.
A second, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Carried 2-0. What do we got today? We have some cereal malt beverage renewals. Got 2 of them?
Yeah. I'm still in that, but one is, Mr. Norback, the Coleman Coleman. And then these 2 are for general service, one for, original on Milton, and the other one is function on the premises.
Okay, so we need
Three of them.
3 of them. Okay. And then we need a motion for that, is that correct?
Motion to sign.
We need a motion for,
Pat, we need a motion to sign this.
Yes, you have to
You
approve.
need a motion just to approve them
Oh, just approve.
and have them signed.
Approve this, 3 applicants.
yeah, 3 applicants for cereal malt beverage license. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Carried 2-0. Using the side of the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah.
I just took some cookies to the register of deeds, and she told me that, EC just offered $6 million mortgage, and that money be coming in, it's a pretty good chunk. That goes to general.
No, it goes to the technology fund, isn't it?
I see.
Mortgage certificate is the general fund.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, it's always been general revenue.
You want to hold everybody up?
I can keep going on those. So this would be bridges, widening of bridges. Guess we're ready for it.
The reason I'm here is, everything in the globe about the Oswald Bridge and the Slutsbaum bridges and stuff, where's that going?
Well, I don't think it's any big secret that we've got many small bridges and ones that are definitely out of date and size. So I think what we've had Matt do is get a list of all small bridges and culverts as far as like if we can try and come up with some sort of plan to possibly replace these small structures. There's nothing that's been, we're not, going out and endorsing or saying we're gonna replace this bridge just as it comes out as a request, but I think as a general rule of thumb, I don't think anything like that's ever been done. I don't think anybody's identified all the small bridges or small weight tons.
Oh, how are you gonna come about figuring out which ones you do first? I guess that's my question.
Well, we haven't even seen
As
the
many,
list.
if we're gonna have to sit down, as many as we got, it's been kicked around that we go like maybe a 2 mile rule, because there's no way that we can fix all of it.
Well, you probably weren't on this board, Jeff, you were, over the bridge that we got that we can't cross now because of the banisters.
Okay, yeah.
This has been about a 3-year going on deal.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you guys wouldn't even listen to us about widening our bridge. That really wasn't even an option. You guys come down there and said, well, too bad. Now you're telling all these guys we're gonna look into widening your bridges. I think the bridge that I want should be the first one to be widened if we're gonna widen it. I've been on this deal for years. And I don't think that's right to tell everybody else, well, we're gonna help you out, and then just tell me we're not widening your bridge. Now, do you see what I'm saying?
I don't know what was told to you, but we have not told anybody. We've told everybody that we will look into it, and that we're probably gonna have to prioritize, because we got so many bad bridges, there's no way we can fix them all. And I think it's got out through the globe, and thus people are coming forward. But like all of us, we did not tell them we were gonna fix the bridge. We told them we would look into it. Is that correct, Commissioner Wood, or Commissioner Shield?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you guys go to start widening these bridges, you gonna notify me that, yeah, we're gonna start widening them, and since you've been on a waiting list for going on 4 years, we're gonna start with yours?
Well,
Or
I mean,
are you just gonna start with these guys? I mean, I know how this deal works, and it's pretty bad the way that our county has worked for us. We got a lot of bridges that are too light, and a lot of bridges that are too narrow, and I can make do. But when you come out and put banisters on my bridge, and my bridge only, and not every other one in the county, that's pretty bad.
Who makes that decision to put banisters on a bridge? And this bridge had banisters on it, they were just widened out.
mhm.
And there's numerous bridges in the county that the banisters have been taken off, and they're laying in the creek.
Okay.
And I know for a fact that the county took banisters off some bridges for different people and widened the bridge so they could cross it. They come out and they put banisters on my bridge so I cannot cross it. Now, who makes that decision?
On the bands of your bridge, they put those on, I think, before I came on. I remember when you guys came up and talked about it, but that's been on for a while. I mean, when was the last time they put,
No, 3 or 4 years ago is when we kinda started this.
so they put the band?
Because we had to change our combine over from duals to singles, which limits your head size so we cross this bridge, where before, the dual just hung over and we could go on. I mean, this bridge is costing us money either way, whether we're gonna pay a tax for it to get it widened or it's entering our operation, we're paying one way or another on these bridges.
Mhm.
And we got some 6-ton and 5-ton bridges that nobody will cross to maintain a road, and that's a problem. When you don't wanna maintain a road, when your township will not maintain a road because it's got a 5-ton bridge on it, that's a real problem there.
Mhm.
I'm paying just as many taxes as you are and everybody else in the county, and nobody's taking care of my road very good because nobody wants to cross the bridge. I think that's a problem that should be addressed immediately. If you cannot maintain a road because of a weight limit, that bridge needs to be up. It needs to be done away with.
Mhm.
Because you're not only hindering you guys, you're hindering us too.
Well, you know, I'm not gonna say we've inherited this, but there was never any real bridge replacement program ever that we can we don't think there's ever been identification of all the bridges. There's been some off-system road bridge programs where something falls in, they've replaced it, but there's never been any strategic, you know. 'cause
I agree with that, you know, they're probably.
I think that's, and we're not promising to any person, we're just saying like, you know, enough's enough, that we're getting enough requests to replace these bridges, and I know you're talking about the small banisters because they're all over the place. You're right, there are some bridges around the county that, you know, that are missing the
Well, it
banisters.
should have taken more than my request for you guys to help me out as a taxpayer. Mine should have been enough to sit down and seriously discuss these bridges and my bridge. Everybody knows their problem, and their problems fell in your lap now.
Mhm.
You know, it's not something I did or you did, it wasn't our generation, it's something the generations before us weren't thinking of. And I think things have progressed so far in the last 5 to 8 years with your weight limits on your combines and stuff, nobody could really see it coming.
Mhm.
You know, but now we're here, and what are we gonna do about it?
Yeah, I mean, like I told you, it's, all we're doing, we've instructed Matt to identify, I think, almost every bridge in Colbert that I, if I remember right, and you'd mentioned about every 2 mile grid, you know, as far as like identifying. So what we're gonna try and do is, you know, some of those bridges with the small weights, probably, I would assume if we can get a good, you know, criteria, you know, as far as like, you know, traffic, weight size, weight limits, locations.
We also discussed a little bit, which is not gonna help you guys, we also discussed throwing it back on the townships to say, okay, you got this amount of bridges in your township's bad. We suggest you go to a 2 mile rule, you prioritize on road count, or if it's a mail route, or a school bus route. We're gonna have to come up with some kind of a plan that we just don't start picking and choosing. We're gonna have to have reasoning why we chose that bridge.
So are you gonna put up them little rubber bumpers like the state uses and measure how much traffic's on that road?
But that, I don't know. That could-
Because that's really not fair to me, because I got a road that I go down 11 times a day, and I got a neighbor that goes up and down it 4 or 5 times a day, and then he goes up and down it that many times, and my hired man, I mean, we're the main ones using the road, but it's the only road I got to use. So, and it's got 2 narrow bridges on it. One of them's got 11-ton weight limit, which is no problem, but the bridge is narrow. The other one's a 5 or 6 ton bridge, and it's got banisters on it,
16 foot.
and it's an all wooden bridge. I mean, it's got metal banisters, but all the stringers and everything are wood.
County coordinator got any input on this? It's a problem. It is a problem. We're aware of it.
What happens if we fell through one of them bridges? I mean, would that be our,
With a combine. Say we fall through a bridge with a combine, who's paying for the bridge?
Well, we've discussed that, Pat might chime in a little bit.
Well, I think it would depend completely on the circumstances. We have a statute, this is not something the commission came up with, not something I came up with. It says if you're hauling a heavy load, you have an obligation to plank the bridge before you drive over. I understand nobody does that, or it's very rare to do it, but that's what our statute says. So, who ultimately pays for it? I guess it depends on the circumstances.
I mean,
Depends
like,
on-
we're not for hire, we're just trying to, you know, combine and get done, and, you know, you're just in a corner on some of them. I mean, there's nothing you can do.
You know, there's a staggering number of these, bridges. I think it's over 200 in Atchison County alone. And, you know, even if you plan that those are gonna have a 50-year life cycle, we ought to be replacing 4 of them a year. And we're not, and we haven't been, and we haven't for the last, you know,
Come up with some kind of plan.
for the last 20 years we haven't been, so we're behind.
And I can see that. I don't want to pay any more tax than anybody else, and that probably weighs into being an issue on it.
And on your side, I know what my taxes did.
Mhm.
I think the Oswalds mentioned it. You know, we pay the taxes we're paying, we want to see some results, and I feel the same way. But we just got so many, I don't know where to tell you where to start.
Can you get any federal funding on that kind of stuff?
There is,
2015, we're eligible for some off-road funding, I believe Matt said.
About one bridge every 2 years.
yeah.
That's what they'll fund.
How are you guys bidding in bridges? I mean, like, I know, like up there in Donovan County, they got this crew that's like a father and a son and a grandpa that are putting these bridges in, and they're just beating everybody to death on the bids. I mean, have you guys contacted them guys?
Depending on the bridge size, like we have a crew, we have a crate, I mean, typically we can replace them up with those metal bridge kits, we can replace up to a certain size. If it's on like the federal or state system programs, those are generally bid out, as far as contractors, but that would be something we could take a look at too with our crew. I mean, if it's feasible to keep replacing those ourselves.
I know that bridge that they put the banisters on that's too narrow. They come down there and took that bridge apart one time when Dorson was running that crew, and they completely redid one abutment themselves on this bridge.
Right.
And what I asked them to do was come out and just extend that another foot or 2 foot. 2 foot would be, make a world of difference. You take a 16-foot bridge to an 18-foot bridge, and you cure everybody's problem. And I think that's something they could do themselves. Now, I know they're busy too, but I mean, I think that's something that can be worked in pretty easy for everybody. That'd cure one bridge. Then we go to 2 others, you know, on Kyle Road. You just got narrow, short bridges.
Our tires hang over about that much on each side when we cross it, and the bridge is in there at an angle. I mean, it's,
And the bridge don't set square to the road.
I don't know, is that something that we could add on, that wouldn't that underneath have to be something done too? We just can't
The
have.
bridge on Levette could be fixed very easily. All they'd have to do is set them banisters out, put it on each side, and put a plank down. Leavenworth County does it all the time. It's an easy fix. But, and back to my question, who makes the decision to put the banisters on the bridge? That had banisters
That's
on
why the
it?
KDOT did it.
Well, we have a
Safety
bridge
guidelines.
inspection, we have a bridge inspection, it's every 2 years.
Yeah.
And
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I've asked this question before and I can never get an answer. Who made the decision to put the banisters on this one particular bridge? That's what I wanna know, is who made that final decision?
I don't know, and
I mean, how can we find out?
I'd say it probably Road and Bridge, probably.
They don't have an answer.
to
You
make.
can ask them, but I'm sure they don't have an answer.
Is that a township road?
Yes. Township didn't do it.
The town,
I don't
yeah,
know.
I don't know.
we're responsible for the bridges even on the township roads, but,
Right.
There's 30 other bridges around I counted that had banisters on them at one time, and they've been cut off, and they didn't get all their banisters put back
It's
on.
one
My
particular bridge
did.
on the road that him and I used, had a banister put back on it, and I wanna find out why that one bridge did.
well, I
If the
guess
state
I
made
don't know
these-
why the others did.
Who made that
If
decision?
the state made the decision, I'd like to hear from
I
that
know,
guy.
I do know for like liability purposes, there are certain guidelines, like anything over like a 6-foot drop, you have to have a banister on. But that particular bridge, I mean, we're talking about stuff that was put on there before I even got here, so I could,
Right.
I could tell you if I wanted to.
And this particular bridge still had the banisters on it, they weren't cut off, they were
They
just
just-
pushed out. They were still there.
They were on at an angle.
Yeah,
And-
been that way for 45 years or longer.
And then we got blamed for doing it.
Yeah,
And then we even, it was Road and Globe that, and in your minutes, that we got blamed for cutting them off.
And they weren't cut
And
off.
we had nothing to do with
We
that.
had nothing to do with that. We never cut them off, we never done nothing, but we got accused of doing it. So,
Okay.
but it's a real handicap to cross that bridge.
But you guys may want to set the day to discuss it, sometime in February or something, and invite everybody to come
We're gonna have to address this
get there.
sooner rather than later,
Mhm.
because, it's getting out now, we have Folks, you guys, Oswald, Schlitzbaum,
Well, what he said though, we've been asking for this for 3 years and nobody ever took any action. These other guys come in here and you guys take action.
not really, Chuck. not
No,
really.
I mean,
We got a list of,
Yeah.
We haven't taken any action on those bridges at all. All we said is like, we really need to get grasp and see what we're dealing with as far as, because if we start approving, 4 or 5.
Yeah, I can see that being a problem.
Yeah, we're just trying to budget, for it.
One
so
other,
we can
one
start
other
doing
thing,
it.
the state's been kinda hard that we gotta cut these bridges, and now they're kinda easing up to where we can do tubes, not in this defense of the form of commission, but a tube, you can probably put in 3 tubes versus 1 bridge. So that'll free up some money that we can do more.
Yeah, or where we're at, the tube,
Tubes are
there's
not-
no option for a tube there, you're
Yeah,
just
that's
too
pretty
much water.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it and go, well, there ain't much water, but when it rains and the water hits the bottom of the bridge, I mean, a tube isn't gonna carry it.
Yeah, that particular bridge, I know you're talking about probably, but there is some out there that.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be the thing to do if you could do it. I mean, put a tube in, on what bridges you could.
And KDOT could tell you real quick, like, if they can analyze it and see if it does require.
And that saves us taxpayers, and that saves in maintenance for a long time too. You know how long a tube lasts, I mean, that lasts a
There's
long
maintenance
time.
to it, but not like a bridge.
Yeah, I like that
Up
idea.
until the last 6-9 months, the state's been pretty staunch on them. The patent, and now,
Yeah,
they're
they're
kinda
relaxed
easing
a
up a
little
little bit. Yeah, they're kinda
Well,
relaxed a little bit.
I think in practice they have, it has to do with stream flow and blocking they won't allow us to block the stream flow, and so if we want to put a tube in instead of a bridge, we have to prove to them that the tube will handle the water that comes in. Well, that requires an engineer and a pretty extensive study and a lot of work. So sometimes it's cheaper to pay our road and bridge guys extra to rebuild a bridge than it is to go through the work of proving that a tube will work.
Well, two can't be hard to prove. I mean, there's a lot of programs out there that show you how many acres drain where and what size tube
Well,
you need.
if you like, we could have you do the engineering on the next one.
No, I've done a lot of tiling, and I've been around a lot of them programs, and there is a program that shows you watersheds and what everything drains and a size. But I understand when you involve the state, it gets a lot more complicated.
Yes.
Very much.
Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't employ so many people if they wouldn't make it so
I think it's
complicated.
7 agencies, I think it's like completely 7
Yeah,
agencies
it's
to
about-
approve,
Oh, I believe that.
it's interesting.
But what I come up here for is, I think it would be fair to me, just because I was one of the first ones that started bringing this issue up real big several years ago. So I think when we started doing bridges, that I should be one of the first ones to get a bridge done, especially since I got 3 of them I got fight every year. Bad. And I'd be happy with just one of them done. I really would. I really would. And a couple years down the road, when you guys get time, do another. I mean, you know, I feel everybody in the county ought to get the same treatment, no matter what.
I agree with you on that.
One bridge is a simple fix, really.
But about far as first in, first one done, I'd have to disagree. It seems logical, but let's say there's a bridge that we know is bad and a school bus goes over it, and the school bus falls in and kills 7 kids.
You're on a whole different level there.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you are,
You're saying
because-
the first one to request be.
No, we're not
Take
talking-
First one prior to.
We're not talking about deteriorating bridges here. We're talking about when you're gonna go mess with a bridge that's got a good rating to widen. I wanna be the first in line for that. I don't wanna be first in line to fix a bridge, period. Because I agree with you, there is a lot of bridges out there that need to be replaced where this needs widened. But when we get to the point where we can start widening bridges for convenience, I think I should be the first one in line for the convenience part. That's what I'm saying. I don't need you to come fix my
I
bridge.
would disagree on that if you were talking about widening. I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about replacing.
No, this bridge can be widened.
Very simple.
I don't see any reason why it can't. And the bridge ain't a bad bridge.
It's got
I
a good
mean-
rating.
It's not a bad bridge, it's just narrow. Now, the other ones,
There.
you'd have to see it to believe it. But, you know, when you're backed in a corner with a combine, I mean, I can't go back and run a combine that's 50 years old that fits that weight rating of that bridge. I don't think any of us can. I don't think you guys can sit here and tell me I have to. It don't make no sense. But when you're dragging a 25, 30,000 pound combine across a 6-ton bridge, that you're forced to do it. I mean, what's the ramifications when I go through the bridge? You know, it's a liability on somebody. So,
I hate to say it, you're probably not gonna hear it, and quote me if I'm wrong, but if the bridge says 6 ton and you go over with 10 or 12, I would think it would be on you.
yeah, but nobody's kept up with the times. You see what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
I got a pickup that outweighs the one bridge. So what am I supposed to do to get to where I wanna go? Ride a bike? I don't think that's logical either. You see what I'm getting
I
at?
know what you're saying.
I mean, what am I supposed to use to get to these places? That's what I would like somebody to come up with a definite answer. When I fall through that bridge and you're gonna sue me to pay for that bridge, everybody in Ashland County ought to be sued the same way. You see what I'm saying? It ought to be straight across the board, this is how we're gonna treat everybody, because I know some other guys that have fell through some bridges around here that the county's come out and fixed them, never been charged nothing. But I got a feeling with our relationship that that's not gonna happen when I do it.
You know and I know that there's hard feelings between, I don't know if it was Ashland County Road Bridge, but the township, I would admit to that.
You know, I don't, never had any issues, but Sheila, I think we've had plenty of disagreements that right or wrong, they should have been resolved, like this deal. They just need to be resolved. And you know, it's messing with my life. You know, I don't know if you guys see that, but it's my life. It's nothing else. It's my life. You know? So.
We hear you, we completely agree, there's a lot of bridges that we need to make some serious changes that haven't been dealt with in the past.
Well, when we had the former county commissioners out there, we met at this bridge, they seemed told us tough. We ain't gonna do nothing for you.
How long was this?
Well, Madden was on there.
Yeah, Madden, just kind of before he resigned, I believe.
Yeah.
So then Madden and Tom and.
Yeah, Tom was on there, oh, and the other guy,
Oh, John.
John Bishop was on there. I think Pauline was out there, wasn't she, Pauline?
You know, we really can't comment on the
Deputy.
commissioners. what they-
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, they just told us, live with it.
Then we come up and tried to close the road just to do away with the bridge, and we couldn't do that either. I mean, we're just
Well, I
back in.
was against that, and the reason why, it took a lot of taxpayers' money to build that one bridge. Now, if that one bridge hadn't been, if that other bridge had been, about ready to be did away with, I would have no problem closing the road. That was not personal, because I don't know you, I know you a little bit, but don't know you. That was my decision, that's why I said.
And that's fine, but I gotta have something done. You see what I'm saying? I mean, we're back into the corner now. I don't see combines getting no smaller. Do you?
Or anything else getting smaller, really.
I really don't.
You know, there's going 24 row planters and all that kind of stuff. But I know it's probably for the commissioners too. There's a lot of bridges. Okay, I got one more item. I own a piece of property that is landlocked, okay? What role does the county commissioner play in that to get me access to that property?
How many acres do you have?
80.
If you got over 40 acres, you can't be landlocked, can you, Pat?
Well, it would depend on how it got there.
You can be landlocked, believe me. That is not true.
That's what I've been told.
That's what I was told, it's
40
not
acres,
true.
they had to give an easement.
Well, who gives you the easement?
Well, it would depend on how we got there. In fact, we have on the agenda, I think, next week, about the original descriptions for.
Survey, that you meant survey?
Well, it is, because if they, I don't know how it got to that. If it was 160 acres and they cut off, 80 and sold them without reserving an easement, or, I don't know how it got there. So you'd have to investigate each one individually. But,
Well, I bought this property over 20 years ago without ingress and egress. Well, I got in and out of there. I was threatened with criminal trespass. But anyway, it ended up, they let me go in there for over 20 years, and all of a sudden they put a padlock on the gate. Said I can't go in there. I sued them, went to court, lost the battle. So,
Because they sat there and said, we've never seen him go in there.
Yeah.
Even though they'd open and close the gate for it, we'd
Yeah.
never seen him go in
so,
there. And the only downfall we had on that deal is we just took ourselves. We should've took everybody from the USDA, we should've took
We
landowners
took no
around
witnesses.
there,
but anyway, I'm landlocked, so I'm still getting in there, but they threatened to put a fence up, so I can't.
and part of that property was owned by a different owner at the time we bought it,
Yeah.
and we had ingress and egress just fine, till these different people took it over and locked us out.
Is it in your deed that you have lifetime, or just as long as,
There's nothing in writing about that at all.
it sounds like
two
you,
states?
it sounds like you've got an attorney that worked with you on it.
Yeah, we had an attorney.
I would suggest talking to them about it, but.
Well, we're
up here-
talking
The county's got a role they play in this.
These guys, I'm sure that
We
the
don't
commissioners
solve
play a
the
role.
problem. And we're not designed to. It may be covered by title insurance. I don't know if you bought title.
That title insurance means nothing on this, I didn't check that out.
The guy's got a book like the township's got that tells you everything.
There's a statute in there that.
There's set statutes up there. Top row and half.
There's a statute in there where you guys can get us access.
Yeah. I'm sure there is.
Well, you have to check into that, I don't know, that's over
Yeah.
there on mine.
It's news to me.
I mean, have you ever been involved in anything like that? Have any of you?
And it wasn't always landlocked. I mean, I don't know anything about this parcel, but, at one time it was part of 640 acres or 160 acres or something that had access. And I don't know when it lost access, but when somebody divided it up, they didn't bother to take care that there would be an easement through there.
You know, the other thing I don't like, Pat, is you tell me to go get a lawyer. We're up here with a legitimate problem, okay, and I'm paying taxes to have you guys help me, and you're telling me to go get a lawyer. You ought to tell me, hey, look, we will look into it and see if we can find a statute on that and help you out, not tell you to get a lawyer. That is wrong. You're here to help me, whether you think you are or not, you're here to help me.
Don't tell me that.
Do what?
You're asking for legal advice.
No, we're asking you for what your job is, and we ain't really asking you, we're asking them. You're telling me to go get a lawyer.
Chuck, let's settle down. Let's get civil here.
Am I right or am I wrong? Go get a lawyer, we're not gonna help you, is that wrong?
Because you're asking specific legal advice.
We're asking you to figure out what your role is,
And we told
and you say, we don't know, go get a lawyer. Well, you got a whole stack of books there, look it up and figure out what your role is. Do you understand? It's not good the way you guys handle us at all. We ask you a question, you wanna beat around it, tell us to get a lawyer, well, yeah, I'm gonna get upset. That's not your job. Your job is to help me, not hinder me.
We're not hindering you at all.
We're not gonna help you go get a lawyer. We're not, there's a whole set of books, but nobody's going, well, let's start looking and see.
We can look into it. I mean, if there's a specific statute where it says that, the three of us are telling you that we're not aware of it, and we would have to find that statute. If you know the statute number,
Would you do
we
that
can
for us?
look.
Would you do that?
Yeah, we have no problem looking at that statute. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure the county commissioners have a role in that. It's like fence viewing, you ever been involved in that? They got a role in fence viewing.
I've heard of that. I've heard of that statute. and
I was involved in that deal several years ago,
Okay.
so
We had a case down in my neck of the woods
it's the same deal. fence
40
viewing.
years ago where there was 42 acres. And the one person didn't want to give it because there was problems. And they went to court, and the court says anything over 40 acres, you have to give him an easement. But they had to get the ground appraised, and that person that wanted the easement had to buy it, and after they had it appraised, he said it's not worth it and dropped it.
Yeah, I can see that being an issue.
That's why I always thought you had 40 acres, you had to, you couldn't be landlocked.
This is what Pat was talking about is what we've seen over time is issues in surveying over the years, and when stuff gets, like you said, if it started as a quarter section, it's been split off over time, may not have been surveyed correctly as far as like when you're talking about like easements. I mean, it rests back on to take a good job of like actually surveying, which would prevent a lot of problems. It doesn't usually rise until something changes or you sell off the ground or the next person, adjacent to you sells off the ground. We can research the statutes.
Now, if a road has been abandoned but not officially closed, it can be opened at any time, right? Not really open, but put back into service. Because it's never been.
There's a time limit.
If there's a road that's been made into a minimum maintenance road, it should be maintained again.
Okay, but not a minimum maintenance road, just abandoned, never officially closed, just abandoned.
Well, that's just not, I mean, nothing official happened, they just quit maintaining. the
Right.
road. Yeah,
Right.
they should still have, whatever governmental entity has jurisdiction over it should still have the jurisdiction to maintain it, if they want to maintain it.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was right. I've done a lot of research on them roads, looked up all that. And this road was never closed, but I just wanted to see, we don't want to close any roads, which I understand. Mine was a pointing issue, but that, I wanted to know that too. And that starts at the township level, correct? Start there.
Depends on whose road it is.
Right.
If it's a city road, it'd be city, township,
It'd be a township road.
county, it's ours, state, would be KDOT.
And then,
County's road.
say I start in this township trying to get this road back into an operating state, and they're not willing to help me, what would be my next step?
Well, it's a political decision for that board, so, yeah, you make your best pitch to them. If you're not satisfied with that, what do you do if you go to the legislature and they won't pass the law that you want passed? You run for office, or you have somebody else run for something like that.
Well, do I come up here and then we
No,
go into a road viewing?
We don't have authority to overturn decisions of a township on a road that they have jurisdiction over.
Okay, if you wanted a new road put in today, who would start that out? The county would start that process, a new road.
Or the landowners could do a petition for a benefit district. I guess there would be a whole lot of ways to do it. Usually when new roads come into play, it's because somebody's subdividing and building lots, and they dedicate through their planning process a road for public use.
Okay. We went through this once on a road that had been abandoned but not open, and, we opened it ourselves. And, then told the township the road's open, and we went through other people's property. This hadn't been that many years ago, and then the county got involved, but we ended up getting our road open. But that was the only way, was for us to open it ourselves, and then ended up, the other landowners were mad and up here, but we ended up with an open road. And it's probably gonna have to help, but it's gonna be this next time too, so.
Okay. Well, I don't know if it's our road or if it's a county road that you're talking about. Without really knowing the specifics, I really don't know.
But-
There's much more I can tell you.
Is it a township, was it a township road?
Yeah, and so was this last
It
road.
was opened as a public highway.
And this last road, the township wouldn't do nothing about, but the board that had Ross on it and stuff, they come out and open that road for us. So I know the county commissioners can open that road for them.
They come out personally and viewed, walked, Pauline Leeds there too.
You remember that?
We had to walk down and look at this creek crossing, remember that?
County attorney was with us.
Yes, county attorney, he's been out there a couple times, county attorney had been.
So I know you guys can put them roads back into shape, because the last commission board did it for us. And I'm sure we can look all them minutes up and stuff, so. Because going to my township board's gonna do absolutely nothing.
Nothing. We're not even gonna make an attempt to do that.
I mean, I'm down to either taking my dozer over and open that road, or you guys come out and say, look, here's the road. I'll bring you the maps like I did on the last one to show you where the road was opened and everything that's been done to that road since it was opened. And then they said, well, it's a road that's never been closed, we can't close it. And that's what happened on the last road. So going to my township board's gonna do nothing for me. So I'll get all these paperwork in line, we'll go look at the road.
Got time to look at some bridges.
Yeah, lots of bridges.
The bridge on Levette is a simple fix of why, man, you're not spending much money there at all to fix that problem. And there again, I would like to find out who made the decision to put the banisters on that bridge to narrow it up. Can somebody find that information for me, or what?
We'd like to have a name,
Yeah, we'd like to have a name,
inspector,
state
state
inspector,
employee,
or who made that decision?
and then visit with them.
That's got to be in writing somewhere.
I don't even know what bridge we're talking about, but.
You said Levette and.
Yeah, Levette.
It's on Levette, it would be,
Right
between,
north of where you used to live there, where you got.
Right below my dad's old house down there, you cross the concrete bridge and then
it'd
make.
be between 310 and 318.
Yeah, it's between 310 and 318. And I can take you through several other bridges where the banisters have been cut off, and they're still laying there. And the county's made no attempt to ever put a banister back on them. There's probably 8 bridges I can show you where the banisters have been taken off, and no attempt to put them back on. So I'm wanting to know why this one particular bridge has been put back on. They're
I don't know.
The only way you should be able to, if there's like something like liability wise, or, I know most bridges typically with a 6-foot drop or more after that, and it's just.
This would have more than 6 feet.
Is it more than 6 foot?
They told me that the banister was, when the bridge was built, and had banisters on, it's gotta have banisters on it, is what the information I've obtained. If it's built without banisters, it don't have to have banisters. Not sure that's 100% correct.
I could ask Nora Bauer, is what the rules and specifics are on.
Every single bridge
bridges.
that we have has a file that has the construction information and the inspections and whatnot. So, I mean, if we knew what the bridge was, we could ask Matt for that file.
Yeah, because he has a map of like every bridge that's listed, we'd know what the designation is, like R or something, or it seems there's a code for each bridge.
Mhm.
So I was just trying to look up and see if we can project. We'll look into it, I mean, I don't know offhand how, or who put that on, I couldn't tell you, I just wasn't here.
I'm just saying, somebody made the decision to put the banisters on that bridge, and I'm just like to know why and who. What do they call that, vendetta? I do give the county credit, they didn't make the banisters very tall, I mean, we can get our head across that, over the top of it. We can't get a combine across it, it's got doodles on it, or a planter across it, one of our planters went across it.
Can't cross it empty with a semi one way now.
Can't make a curve. You know which bridge I'm talking about, if I remember, who they are, yeah.
Is this the one that, did they have the wreck on it?
No, not this bridge, no.
Okay.
That was probably the one up north of them, they had. and they
Had a lawsuit over it, I
A
think.
lawsuit or something over that bridge in there about 4 or 5 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, it's a county bridge. Somebody got hurt or something, didn't they, on that?
Well, there was one, I thought there was an accident when nobody got hurt.
Maybe that's correct, I don't know.
Um,
Remember, that was an issue, about the banisters on it.
You know, if there are bridges where the banisters have just been cut off and thrown in the ditch, we should know those and fix them.
Well, I'm sure Matt Dorson knows it.
Well, I don't know whether he does or not. A lot of those bridges are not on county roads, they're on township roads, so we don't travel them all the time. So,
Well, I can tell you right now, if you go back and start putting banisters on all these bridges, what we've done with you today, our disagreements won't be far from what you guys get. Repercussions from everybody in the county. I mean, I know a lot of guys got to do the same over bridges, and if you put them banisters back on, wow.
well, we certainly want safety for the people that are driving over them.
I'm all for safety too, but, you know, I'm just one in the boat of the hundreds of farmers around here that have no choice. I mean, we're the no choice to cross a bridge. You have no choice. I mean, I don't think there's anybody around that farms that crosses every bridge legally. They can't. And it's a problem now. But as far as planting a bridge, do you got a statute or how that works, or how you gotta make that work? I'd be interested to see that.
I've heard of that, but I'm not sure what it is.
And then how do you figure weight limit after you plank the bridge? And then if I do plank the bridge and I leave the planks there because we shell 4.5 acres and then go right back across the bridge, am I liable if somebody hits a plank? I do know, like some of them Doniphan County bridges, they're bridges, and then, you know, they got plank runways on them. I've seen that, but I didn't know why.
Yeah, I didn't know why they done that.
I don't think those are all permanent, there's no.
Yeah, they nailed a lot of them down, probably for a weight limit increase, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's KSA 68-1129, there might be another statute.
Can you write that statute number down? I can look them up on the internet, can I?
Yeah, I could email it to you. Would you rather I did that?
Yeah, please.
Which reason?
C.A. Vollmer,
CAVOLLMER.
4650 @att.net.
If that doesn't come, let me know, resend it, I just sent it, so.
Well, thanks. How do you know about that statute? You guys come across that here recently, or?
We've come across it before, so.
Are there guys in the county doing that?
I really wouldn't know. I really wouldn't know.
And is that, maybe if we can come up to plank some of these lighter bridges, is that something the county be interested in giving us the planks for?
I would say you're probably talking about Matt about it.
So,
I'd say it's not a solution, but it would be maybe a temporary fix till we could replace them right.
correct.
I wouldn't have no problem with throwing some plaques or something to, open some of the bridges, maybe put on there.
Well, some that, you know, kick around in a later meeting, you know, everybody, we're kinda dead doing anything right now. But guys get to a point where you can address that, maybe we could plank a few of them bridges to help on the weight limit a little bit.
Yeah, could definitely prevent somebody going through it, I think it'd definitely be worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Nothing on the lake project? Nothing.
No, we haven't, we didn't get a whole lot, we got some responses initially, like landowners like close to it or something like that, that objected to it, we haven't.
You haven't made any decisions or?
No, we haven't made any decisions, so, unless you're interested in pursuing that.
Well,
that's why I was here that day.
why we were here.
Okay. We'll probably address it here probably early 2014, would be my guess, and we kind of got busy with other things, but, we haven't had a discussion about it, to be honest with you, probably a few weeks at least, so we'll just, yeah.
Yeah, my whole deal on that deal was, if you guys were gonna sell it, I'd already talked to the sheriff, and he said he'd be gonna have to sell it on the courthouse steps, and, you know, you eliminate your paperwork, a lot of it for a sealed bid, and you eliminate paying an auctioneer to do it. You know, they sell a lot of things on the courthouse step, and I talked to him, he said, I think that'd be fair for everybody. Yeah, but it sounds to me like they're, and I'd probably be the same way when that landowner's out there, and, you know, I can't blame them guys. Yeah, kinda.
Well, to be quite honest, we discussed it, it has to have a 3-0 vote for it to sell, and Commissioner Bodenhausen was getting a lot of heat, because that's his area, so we just it's just kind of on the shelf. It's something that we haven't forgot about, but it's on the.
It would be nice if if they don't sell it, they generate a little revenue off of it some way.
That's gonna be.
I don't know how you do that for sure.
Good uses out of it, I mean.
Man, I look at that county lake like I look at that filling station right there on the south side of Hiawatha that just can't make it go. You know, a good location, but man, nobody will stop there, you know?
Well, it's kind of, I don't know.
Okay, well, what do you guys got on your future agendas with roads and bridges and stuff? I mean, what's the next major issue we're gonna address?
Well, those were primarily bridges, as far as like replacement roads, we had talked about trying to do something long-term, possibly with paving or chipping, sealing, you know, setting aside miles. I think several years ago, the county was setting aside 20 miles a year to do that as well, but I like to try to address that.
I would too. In the recent years, I think it's just been to maintain what we currently have. I would like to see us get to a point where we add a mile or something, chip and seal every year.
Now, is there a way to regenerate them roads, all the rock and oil that we put on them, you know, like they do an asphalt road? Because,
You mean like,
Grind it up and reuse it.
well, yeah, because have you been on a lot of them roads lately? And they are getting,
Morton Road's really bad. Kingman is too.
I mean, you know, chipping and sealing it helping it, but
Boy, it's,
there's so rough
The
and.
trouble, I think what we're finding, in the past, you gotta get a good base down. If you don't get a good base down, you're gonna get that. So anything from here forward, we're looking at a very good base, at least 8-inch, 10-inch base before we chip and seal. That will solve it, but then again, that's another one of those things that's gonna take time.
But you know, even an asphalt road or a concrete highway, they gotta redo them eventually, you know? And them roads are getting to the point now where if they keep progressively getting like they are, you know, 5-10 years from now, they're gonna be like driving over speed bumps everywhere.
you can grind them, I don't know about, I mean, they're not the same as asphalt. They don't add any significant value or base.
You basically just be taking up whatever you ground off as base and put some more base line, but as far as using that product again, I doubt if you could reuse it. I don't know, you might, maybe you can, I don't know.
Be a possibility.
Maybe mix more oil with it. I don't know.
I've just seen it like grind stuff out, you know, bad spots and those go
Yeah.
over with asphalt.
I just think you guys got your hands full.
That we do.
See, I got one more question. If a bridge don't have a weight limit posted on it, what are the restrictions? Are there any restrictions?
We do it, I know we have a resolution, set at 7 ton, I can't remember if it's 6 or 7 tons.
6 or 7 tons, yeah. There's also a weight limit just on roads in general. And,
I see that, like Kingman Road, Kingman or Morton Road, no, Kingman, it's got like a 15-ton weight limit on it.
Just the bridge.
No, well, maybe it is just bridge, I think it's the whole road.
What are the weight limits on the roads in Ashley County?
there is a statute on, what if I can put down my fingers and say quickly, but there is a statute.
Yeah.
It just depends on number of, axles and whatnot, but there's definitely a weight limit on it.
You know, a lot of these newer bridges, they don't have weight restrictions on them.
Well, they're really
Wondering
high,
what-
yeah.
I mean, what's the limit? I guess is what I'm asking, is there a limit?
There is a limit, I mean, I know like Structure, I've seen it here for just a few bridges since I've been on their place, there is a limit, it's just usually exceedingly so high that nothing,
You know, I mean, like you crossed the bridge with a 100,000-pound bulldozer and went through it and didn't have a weight restriction on it, now, who's liable?
Hopefully, we should have everything posted, but evidently we don't.
Well, there's a lot
No.
of bridges not posted.
Oh,
All the newer
there's a lot of-
bridges aren't posted at all.
County coordinator, you
I
take.
mean, everything has a limit, it's just, it's usually pretty, the newer ones I know have had it's a pretty high.
20,000 pounds per axle,
Okay.
and any axle located within 7 feet of any adjacent axle,
Spread axle, yeah.
I know what you're asking, like all these little tin plank bridges we got that have no weight limit sign on them. And Canoes went through one of them, you guys put a tube in out here. Okay, that had no weight limit on it now. You're saying there's a 6 or 7 ton weight limit on
Yeah,
that
they had
bridge?
under my resolution.
Okay, did Canoes pay for that too?
I'm not sure if they did or not.
No,
We discussed, I remember we discussed, I specifically asked that question, I can't remember I can't remember if we got any resolve out of that.
Is that the one that fell through, or is that the one?
They drove over with the truck and
Truck
the
went through
road.
it, and the back of the truck went through it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if you had some stranger driving through there and went through it, now how would he know?
What our county resolution
You know, what
is?
our restrictions are. I mean, who's liable?
Like you hire an equipment company, bring you a new combine, and they don't know. They're not required to buy permits.
No, but of course, there's a presumption that they know what the laws are in the jurisdiction they're in. It's.
Yeah, but man, how would you know that,
Presumption.
how would you know the restriction on the bridge?
But the bridges should be marked.
Well, they're
Yeah.
not all marked.
Definitely.
I don't think they disagree.
I think they're only marked if they don't meet a certain level. And if it's unposted, it should be at a certain level. I think it's the way it is. I'll take some maps to find out.
It should be posted, it should all be posted.
Like that bridge you said that was too good for you guys to close that road, that bridge's not posted.
Never has been. And the twin to it down the road, it's never been posted.
Any of them bridges that were built in Ashland County, like 84, 85, 86, 87, that style, none of them had a weight limit on them.
They should have.
Newer bridges.
Yeah.
80, that flood was in 84, so 85, 86, 87 is when a lot of them bridges were built.
They don't have any limits on it.
And I don't have anything heavy enough to go through that bridge, but I'm just asking what the, I mean, you
I'm
got.
saying some stranger comes down that road, not familiar with that way, and 120,000 pounds, which that could happen. Let's say, goes through that bridge, and how does he even know what the limit is on that bridge?
Of course, if you had more than 20,000 pounds over an axle, he'd be in violation.
But
I don't know what kind of, how you would move it, something 120,000 pounds without having
Well, you get permitted, and then they give you
Yeah,
the
I was
route.
saying, you
Put
put
like
like
8
permits
axes
on
on
it,
it or
and then that
something.
permit agency would.
Yeah,
Route.
they route you, but what I'm saying is like, you buy a brand new combine, okay, and you go up there to Maryville, Missouri, or you buy that combine, and say, I live here. Well, we'll bring you your new combine. Well, they come down that combine and go through one of them little bridges that ain't weight rated. They don't know all our county resolutions. They know that they're not overweight for the trailer they got. But you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of issues that, and like the Newtons, I'd like to know who paid for that bridge. I really would. I have nothing against them guys, and I think
Nice guys.
if they didn't pay for it, I don't think they should have to.
Well,
But-
I'm pretty sure we did, we paid for it, but as far as like restitution for damage, I mean, I know we had that discussion, whether it's based on a percentage or, you know, basically, you know, that, the bridge that it's, that's where I think the discussion, I think, ended, is like how much, you know, restitution should we, just the value of the bridge at the time that it went through, or the replacement cost of a new bridge, I mean,
So nothing's been done.
well, we had to replace it, I know that.
No, but I mean,
As
nothing.
far as restitution, I don't think so.
And is anything gonna be done?
I would suggest it, I mean, I don't think it was as popular at the time. That was just last year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, you're
Not- not-
no,
not 3 months.
it's been well over a year. It's been well over a year. Because it was last harvest, and it was early in the harvest.
I would be in favor of coming with some sort of restitution, because most, you know, if you go through it, your liability insurance is gonna kick in.
But I'm not, because the bridge has not got a posted weight limit on it. I think you're wrong to go after them for restitution without a posted weight limit.
But your liability insurance would cover
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
damage.
but you're still gonna pay for that.
Mhm.
You know that, every time you use your insurance, it's gonna go up.
But most counties do have, I mean, you do have to pay some sort of I mean,
But on a non-posted bridge,
I think that's probably something that you might wanna put on the agenda for us to discuss. Well, everybody have all the information instead of just, yeah,
yes.
yeah, it's just basing on memories.
Okay.
So, you probably want to have Matt here.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
we've got lifetime bridges we have to cross, you know, I mean, we have no choice.
I guess that's what you guys need to set a meeting for, and a whole countywide meeting is, how are we gonna address these bridges if somebody goes through them? I mean, and it needs to be clear to the taxpayer because we're gonna pay to replace a bridge anyway as a taxpayer, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
We're paying for that service. So for us to pay for it twice, everybody in the county, I think there ought to be a rule. You know, if you're crossing that with your combine, your tractor, your grain truck, hauling your crop to the elevator, to the bin, you ought to be exempt. If you're for hire, I think you should be, I think you need to come up with something that treats everybody fairly. You know what I'm saying? To where if you're doing your own ground, doing your own crop, trying to do your thing.
That is pretty touchy though, I mean, you have to admit that, I mean, because if you're like a semi and you're hauling something else non-ag related and you go through a bridge, I mean.
That's what I'm saying. You know, a harvest, we ought to have harvest exemption. You guys ought to come up with a plan for us to have a harvest exemption on these bridges. And no other time, not for construction equipment, which we move a lot of that around too, and I am damn particular on what road I go on, I can tell you that, and how I get there. But, you know, we ought to have something that does all the ag producers good in the county with our bridges, somewhat.
But now you're probably getting into state authority, because there are states that do stuff like that, but I believe that's state authority, not county authority.
Because, you know, like, Kansas runs an 5,000 weight limit all the time with your tax force, but I know Missouri and several other states that up their weight limit during harvest for their trucks.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I think there's something that we can all come to an agreement on as far as what we're gonna do on our bridges when we go through one in the combine. Because we're gonna lose a $250,000 or $280,000 combine, it's gonna be total. So do we need to turn around and then have our insurance company buy a $500,000 bridge too? When you're driving over a bridge, it ain't worth $50,000 in the state you're in. You see what I'm saying?
And that's where I think Pat's talking about, we should have this, you know, set down, because that's where we came, you know, are you gonna pay for replacement of the whole bridge, or just basically, you know, what's the appreciated value of that bridge, you know, if it's we're 10,000, you know, do we just go with that amount for the damage done?
You know, I don't like it, and I used to be the point, well, don't worry about it till it happens, but it's inevitable now. Somebody's going through, well, they already have. I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of bridges get falling through. We're gonna have to do something, and I think we can all come to an understanding that there can be an exemption. I mean,
We're definitely gonna set it on agenda, I think it's definitely an item to discuss and get something going on. It's not going away.
No, I got it.
Yeah.
no, you guys got too much interest in it now.
Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
Like I said, if we can find out who wanted the banners put on there, I would like to find that out, and why they were put on that one particular bridge.
Okay. We'll follow that between 310 and 318.
Okay.
Is it the first one or second one? There's two, aren't
It's
there?
the wooden one.
It's a wooden one.
The other one's a concrete.
Is that the north or south?
It'd be south one's the
South
wooden
one,
one.
okay.
It's got like 11-ton rating on it, or something.
It's a good bridge.
solid bridge. And like I said, it'd be a real easy fix, company thing. Big deal to fix, why,
That's one of
that
the-
bridge, some of the other ones always get pretty complicated.
Hey, I've never seen anybody run off the banisters of that bridge.
No.
Life.
Been there living my whole life. The baddest has never been an issue. A couple years ago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, I think it'd probably be a good idea to set a, sometime in January or February, to just discuss what are we gonna do with the bridges, and heck, you might even wanna invite Norm Bowers to come and talk to us about it.
He has specifics, I know that.
Should we get the townships involved in that? meeting
Sure.
as well?
I think invite everybody, yeah, sure.
I think what we struggle with is getting money out of townships to do the bridges. I don't, just because statute, state statute authority requires us to, it's over a certain span.
I think that we're gonna have to get all the bridges and the logos on the very front of them. And then I think we need to sit down and prioritize which bridges we're gonna fix, and then get them scheduled and proceed. I don't think we can go with first one, last one to get it. I think you're gonna have to come up with some kind of plan with this. You don't have some plan put in place, as soon as that first bridge is even, or in the community, we're gonna have 250 requests. Or more. So we gotta have some kind of outline of what the priorities are.
Well, I think it's a scores that almost all the farmers are in the same situation, that they need higher weight limits on the bridges to get the product to market.
I'm not in favor of giving them an exemption a certain time of year so they can get the crops out, because we all know, me included, I'm supposed to carry so many bushel an hour, carry whatever that truck will hold. And then if you're saying, well, you can drive over this bridge, whatever you want to for this 2.5 months, I think it would be abused.
I think it's state authority to do that.
And you can't suspend the laws of physics either, so, the weight's gonna cause damage to the road and bridge if it's excessive.
I think probably what they kind of insinuated, I shouldn't be talking about, we all know it's hard feeling between them and the township, and it's not getting any better. And how do you get it better? I don't know, that's a good question. And they fight the township.
I'm sure about the weight limit signs on bridges. I mean, if we really do have that money, I know what you're saying, I know we have a statute, or we have a resolution in place for that, but you should really probably be marking that.
If the bridge doesn't have a weight limit, then it meets the road limit. Is the way that goes.
Which is the 34,000 per, or 20,000 per axle,
Okay.
so.
Okay, the problem that you have, if you post it, okay, we told you this bridge needs to be bigger, and you wouldn't build it, so now you posted it at 5 ton, and it should have been at 10 ton, and I fell through it. You was aware that the bridge was too light, so it could go either way.
But Matt said he got in the past, he's asked that all bridges be posted 9 tons. So that's not, I'm gonna meet with him next week on all this.
Okay, if you just go through and post all bridges 9 ton, let's say this bridge doesn't qualify, and they're carrying, 8 ton, they fall through it, they're gonna say,
Well, post all bridges that are posted 9 ton. If they don't meet at 9 ton, they're not gonna post at 9 ton, they'll post it at 8 or 5. And that's engineering that will determine that.
Is 3 the lowest?
I think so.
Do we even have any 3-ton bridges?
Probably.
I know we had some 5, I know we
The
had
Dolby
some 5.
Bridge
the
said,
Dolby Bridge is 3 tons.
Those are the,
Well, how many tons for a festival?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
how big is the bus?
What's the tonnage for a bus to go over? Okay.
What's the
I
bus?
bet busway is probably, are we talking empty? I'd say empty probably 5, 6 ton.
Really?
Because I thought that bridge down by me that, was
Like
3 tons.
Yeah.
Well, to me, you'd have to throw in traffic count, bus route, mail route.
Come up with like criteria, like
That'd be
A
3
scoring.
Yes.
a scoring standard.
How far you have to go out of your way if you don't use that bridge?
Correct.
Norm could probably help out with that, I would assume he's probably seen something
Oh, I'm
like
sure
that.
we're not the only ones counting that boat.
Well, the other situation that came to mind as far as a large semi or truck, not from the area, not knowing what Wayland, all these counties with, like wind turbines, that's become a huge issue, I know, across the state, that, you know, when they start just setting up shop, whether it's turbine or fracking, or, I know that there's a lot, they've had to deal with a lot of issues where they just don't know the weights, and,
It was fracking.
you know, like, where they're drilling like oil and gas, natural gas, they like use like liquids and pressurized, they're like those crack, you know, like those cracks.
Including the groundwater.
Can you claim this one, you claim this one?
Yeah, I saw that. Clean up
We'll
river
just
turn.
keep that one through, I have the public school, public water for.
And I
Do it
think
for-
we got
Okay.
fired up on
That's
that.
okay, we'll just do that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel really, if you wanna talk about the legal issue, we probably should go into executive session, but I feel pretty confident. It's not our obligation to buy somebody right, access to it.
I don't know.
I agree with him.
Pardon me?
I agree with Pat.
There is definitely a way to do it, for a landowner to do it.
Let's see, what else do we have? Holidays is also on the agenda. We're gonna go through holidays, and I think, do we have anything, we have a couple other things? There was something on there.
No,
No,
license,
no,
oh,
everything.
no,
Security.
courthouse security.
We're doing that next week.
Okay.
I sent you guys a list of what I've seen some other counties are doing for holidays and what the city of Ashland is doing for holidays. And we can either set that this meeting or we can do it sometime around their organization, up to you.
Well, we should at least try to get an idea as far as, we said it in reorganization.
I think you're, you may have some pushback from veterans that may feel slighted, but then it depends on where you space your holidays out. And there's already, you have 2 days off, and within a week almost, or 2 weeks of that Veterans Day for Thanksgiving, Friday following Thanksgiving. So that is kind of why that one was selected out of the others that were eligible.
And then the personal holiday is called, it's still called birthday?
It is right now, but we're gonna change that to personal holiday.
Yeah, I agree.
Or personal.
Floating or floating personal or,
That's to,
yeah.
that's to be treated as.
That's the common way that most people do
Right.
it.
Looking here.
Well, I found all those other county holidays, we're going through their policy manuals for ideas to incorporate into our policy manual updates. That's where I found those.
So we're looking at possibly like New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, and then Thanksgiving.
The day after Thanksgiving.
Day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Day, and then the day after, because I think on.
That's a Friday next year.
It's a Friday next year.
And
And then floating.
the city of Atchison, and this would be identical to what the city of Atchison is adopting for 2014, from what I'm told. The thing I do like about their Christmas holiday is they have the Christmas day off, and then they have either the day before or the day after, and that's set each year. So that if it runs to be a different day of the month, you can kind of bump it up to Christmas Eve if it's appropriate.
I think
In 2014, it makes sense to have the day after,
Yeah.
because then you have people coming back for one day.
It's like last year where it was like on a Monday. No, it would have been this year. No, it was last year. Last year would have been on a Monday.
When you gave us that number.
Yeah. That's what you're saying when you bumped it.
Yeah, you can, it's floating between, and the commission can choose whether they have it Christmas Eve or the day after Christmas. And this way, it gives people a little bit more time to spend with their families on an extended holiday type thing.
You asked me something down there in the hallway. That was about the day after Christmas. You wouldn't want to lose that or something?
Day after Thanksgiving.
Oh, the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and that is included in this one. So you have, you make that a 4-day weekend, and then another 4-day weekend, this, in 2014. And that kind of helps make up, because there is a gap from Labor Day then to Thanksgiving. So to have, even that a 2-day holiday is kind of appropriate.
I'd be fine with that as long as we change that.
Would be
that
10
holiday.
total holidays and the personal day.
Yeah.
Is what we'd be looking at.
Yeah, change it to like floating or floating personal. That'd be.
So we took one day away, or did we just?
1 day.
One day, and then we renamed the other one to personal day.
For birthday,
Yeah. So
and that's what you guys, that's what, from what you had this year. This year was the 12, with it one personal day, so it's a total of 12. And next year it'd be 11 total, with one of them being personal day.
Do we have anything in our policy where they can take so many days off a year without that?
Sick and vacation days.
So they have sick and vacation, they
So
accrue
they're
that.
almost, okay.
Those don't count on anything.
We need to address the build up of sick days. We also need to, start going over some of these policies, and I'm sure some of them need to be reworded or.
Is it the accumulation of sick is 240, or 280?
Accumulation, you pay for 240 hours.
If they leave.
If they
They
leave,
leave.
in good standing.
Well,
Some counties don't even pay sick leave.
My company would.
yeah.
A long time ago, it was just if you retired from the county would pay you for sick leave, but then they changed it. It really ruins your budget if you have some leave and have to pay out.
And there the 80 hours that can be carried over on vacation, is that right? So somebody can have 80 hours, and the next year they'll accumulate another set of hours. I mean, it depends on how long you've been here. Because the longer you've been here, the more you can accumulate during the year. But they have to burn down to that 80 by the end of the year. Because there's no carryover.
Yeah, from year over year.
And I don't know if you wanna, because we've always had the problem with the every 2 week thing that, people using it the last 2 weeks in December. And then we have to be sure that we get it off of their 2000, whatever the previous. I don't know if you wanna do something with that where they have to do it, they have to get their 80 hours before those 2 weeks.
I think that you can kind of put that upon the department head or elected official to make sure that they have adequate coverage through whatever time, so people have to plan their vacations well ahead of time and get approval. And that way you're not left with 3 people in your office taking off the last 2 weeks of December. So it kind of puts a little bit of burden on the department head and elected official to make sure that those get burnt down appropriately. And if they can let them go that last week of December or so, they can, but it's not going to be for everybody.
Yeah, because when you request that time off, that'd be the time to inquire with the department.
But going to a personal day versus a birthday, because actually the birthday can be taken any time during the year, but there's a provision in there for those that have like December birthday, that they can carry that over into January. And this way we'll make them use that personal day during that calendar year, so they'll have to use it or lose it kind of thing on that one.
Does 80 hours seem like a lot if you haven't carried over?
Not really.
Well, it does if you're just here 1 year, but if you've been here.
Well, they have to build up. They're not gonna get 80 hours the first year.
They get a week after their first year here, and then they get a day.
Then it increases over like 2 to 5 years, they accrue at this amount, and after 5 years, they accrue at this amount. And then once they hit that, I think that 10-year mark, then they pretty much max out on how much they accrue each year.
Now, a lot of companies, you'll start accruing like immediately, like you have to either work 6 months, or you start, for every 2 months of work, you basically earn like so many, basically for every day on the job, you earn point so many hours or something like that. It seems like an awful long stretch to go to earn 1 week of vacation. That's not very common in private sector, I know that, but I don't know if it's government, that's typical, or 80 hours, that's carry over 2 weeks ago. I've seen 40.
And the thing is, you want employees to use their vacation time. You don't want them to accumulate it and just carry it over continually. Because they're more productive if they take time off and
Oh, yeah.
actually use it.
That's what I would get worried about, just.
Don't you feel an audit and think, well, you know, I'm gonna retire in 3 years, so let's build this up, and, you know, I can retire and still draw a month and a half worth of money.
It'll be 2 weeks first. Sorry. So, be 1 paycheck.
So they're collecting things to have to, as far as the employee, what they're collecting things immediately, are there some of those that
There's-
need to address, or?
There's just, there's just a few cute things we probably want to address earlier than others. And, you know, changing the title from birthday to personal name is not a big deal.
Yeah. But then we got a copy from, was it KC, or who gave us, who's KK? Somebody gave us that.
Yeah, K-Camp. They have one actually on their website, the draft. And then Thomas Job about it. He emailed me, I believe it's Gary County, just recently redid theirs. And he said he thought it was probably better than what was on their website.
On a different matter, do you see what I'm talking about?
Wasn't this morning, but it's, that email that Matt sent to me said that it should either be here today or tomorrow at the latest. And that can be done electronic deposit.
Have we heard anything back from the state on that? Nothing on that.
Employee benefits, did you get everything that you needed?
Yeah, had a conference call with UNB this morning and with Mike Keller. And I've got paperwork to sign and send back to them today. And then those cards will be issued within the next couple of days after that.
Now, I know like, we signed up online for the HSA account, that translate, you get to see that, there isn't a form that we have to turn in.
There's, once they get all the accounts set up, each employee will be get contacted by UNB, they'll get their card in the mail, on how to access that, they'll be encouraged to go in and set up their information and user accounts. At that time is when they'll have to do the added card, so if you want a spouse or children to have a card, that's when you'll enter it then. And do that online. For those that have turned in their forms to me, I have a copy of who was requesting extra cards, but they need you to do that online.
Yeah.
And I think next week we have thing for the budget for Senior Village, amend the budget for Senior Village.
Okay.
So go ahead and do that.
And I emailed it to the Globe to have it published for Saturday. And she emailed me back on Friday afternoon saying that with all the cuties and everything, Christmas stuff, that she forgot to put in the paper. So,
So, in other words, it won't be in the paper till after the deadline should have been for the 10-day notice. So, we will keep track of the email that Pauline sent to the Globe, that's when it should have been put in there, they think it'll be okay.
sure.
The other may or may not make a note of it.
But I did talk to Roger Fraser from Accounts and Reports concerning it. And he said, go ahead and publish it. He said the only problem, the only thing is if the auditor would say something, she might write you up. It wasn't our fault, but, because I did send
We'll have
it.
a copy of the email that we sent.
I don't see how she can write stuff on it, it wasn't our fault.
She may make a note of it, it's nothing that's gonna,
It's not a tax money, but it's the enterprise.
There's really no penalty for getting written up either.
I mean, that's what I told him.
No, but when it's out of your hands, I don't think it should be written up nothing.
you know, it's typical for almost every audit to have a few comments from the auditor, and what you try to do every year is to eliminate that number down to where you have the standard of cash control. That seems to always be an auditor's favorite thing, that because of the size of the department, that you can't have proper cash control of intake and outtake and receiving. That's why there will be no cash received in my office, because I'll just have to meet one other person, and if one of us are gone, not there that day, then we can't even come to begin to monitor the cash controls by the auditor, so we're not gonna take cash at all. But that's something that you always see on an audit letter. And you just try to reduce to those standard ones, and unless you're Johnson County, you can have 20 people in the office. It's not feasible.
Did you go through and take a tour and see what the options are for your office?
I've looked at the options, yeah. If I had my preference, I'd probably go down to the Brady's out. And then have the Brady move down to the computer room can be redone and organized to accommodate what's the current Brady's office. Plus still have a designated for Kyle and Roger. You probably would for 4 people in there.
Where's that?
In the computer room. Because the majority of that computer equipment is being downsized. And if we need to, they can be relocated into the vault itself, to where it's not.
Aren't they crowded in the room down and out of Fraser, and then you're gonna move into a smaller room? Or is that?
No, this is where the empty's at.
Oh, okay.
The other room, not the downstairs. It needs to be in proximity to Pauline and the treasurer's office. Other than that, if not, that somebody's gonna be in really good shape running back and forth. Nothing else that
You said, I thought you told me that.
No.
I was in there.
The computer room itself would probably be bigger than what 2 people would need. And then you start addressing, okay, what do you do with Kyle if you take, that means moving Kyle out of the courthouse, which has its benefits and has its drawbacks. Roger's supposed to have a workstation in that room. I know he has a desk downstairs, but this could pull him back up into that room. That room doesn't offer any privacy. If I have to talk to a department head or elected official, but there's not the room that the computer room has, and there's going to be taking a lot of files out of the clerk's vault that will need to be put in a lock-in filing cabinet system.
The appraiser needs to have, the same confidentiality, because they have the hearings in there, informal meetings with taxpayers on valuations and whatnot, so he has that fairly frequently too, so. I suppose you can do that in a different room, but I think he needs the computers, care stuff, so. Have you discussed it with him
No,
at all, so?
I was waiting for them to kind of
Yeah.
make a decision as where they want to go.
Yeah, we can have that discussion.
I mean, for the next, I'd say at least 30 days plus, the assistant to the person will probably still be in the Paul's office in training, on the payroll and accounts payable. And then hopefully after that time frame, it will be good to go ahead and make that transition and, do that.
My first comment was after I seen him get hired, is we put everybody in that office, but then you said that once, you get trained, he gets trained, that you need to have one more separate office.
Who,
Mark.
Works on that. Yeah. I don't think Pauline wants to keep me there forever.
Huh?
I said, I don't think you want me to keep, you don't want to keep me there forever. So.
Right, I'll put you in by next meeting. I don't know if he's done it yet. If you done it
I
yet.
don't know, I haven't seen it.
We can address that too. You talking about
Dorson? Yeah, he's out spreading the pole. So I sent back or sending him a text, and he'd have to stop and email and text me back, and so I just ended up calling him and got one question.
I did have some good questions, I mean, as far as like postings and bridge replacement programs, roads.
Nothing, you know, going through and then prioritizing is what to address, who goes first and what. Let's, you know, look at condition of the bridge, and, you know, what needs to be done to it, whether this needs to be widened, or it needs to be totally replaced, or it can be downgraded to a culvert. Those are the things we need to address first.
I'd have to say this one on Cameron Road, they had some valid points, but sometimes your point gets across a little bit better if you're just a little bit more interested. I mean, they look at it as everybody's out against the dollars, and I'm not to say that, there's more fees.
Well, you're dealing with another entity too, with the township roads and, you know, it's awful hard to, you know, replace a bridge if it's on a township road that has a very low daily traffic rate, so that's where we start, you have to consider those parameters.
The trend that you're seeing, potentially you're shrinking the good larger too. We're gonna cross that bridge at some point, I know that, if it's been acquired that more.
Well, hopefully we made some positive moves in 2013, and I would say that our bridges is probably top priority in what we need to get accomplished in 2017. Address it, and what we're gonna do, and how we're gonna pay for it, and what's fair. Get some kind of point system set up to where if somebody comes in, here's our point system, and this is how we pick and choose.
Because we may have to do, you know, start budgeting total replacement of bridges, and then we might be able to say, okay, we're gonna cover these conversions of culverts, outside of that list, you know, ones that can be converted, and, but we've got all the suits you have to jump through to make sure that you don't have to have a bridge.
You know, if nothing else, you know, they say, yeah, your bridge is on here, but your bridge is probably, you know, when we schedule, but at least they know something's in play, they got some kind of, well, we'll have to get by with what we can do for several years.
Yeah, being so far behind, you can't just do the 4 bridges every 20 years or.
If we go to 2, we could probably do, I would think we'll be able to keep here.
He brought up a good point about bidding out stuff out. I mean, we should take a serious look to see what the cost is of, if you're doing 10 or so at a time, you bid out. That's not a problem for companies to do.
Yeah, but if we go to 2, why can't we do that in-house, save a lot of money?
But we,
I think they were talking about bridge fixing.
Yeah.
yeah,
And, you know, you just got, as long as the people that you have bidding these out are licensed and insured, and meet all those requirements, and, bid it out, come back. But I don't want just somebody coming and say, hey, I can build a bridge.
No, you got.
Hire me.
Yeah. Be pretty specific on the RFP, spec out.
And then, you know, the bridge engineer, not engineered.
I've had one person, he hired Steve Reddick, and I'm talking about, go get train cars. They make bridges, you can make bridges out of those.
Oh, yeah.
Bridges out of what?
Train car, you know, cutting both ends out.
Yeah, I've seen them make like do like a heavy duty, like, culvert, or it's, yeah. I think people did that once. There's certain, you know, I think they have ratings on how much they can, you know, run through, see how much can drain into them essentially. Okay, we got the same issue with roads though too, we got a lot of roads that are chip and sealed, and they just have, we're gonna have to address that reason too, folks with no
I don't know
base.
how much this year.
feel like they used to do like more than that. It seemed like, I remember as a kid, they were doing like 4 or 5.
I think it's always better when you plan ahead than we just plan ahead.
Yeah.
Seems like things are going much smoother when you know what you set up and what you want to get accomplished this year.
And the other thing is we have to get that list built and then have, because we're still probably a year away from implementing something like that. So that definitely has to be discussed on the budget for coming this year.
The other thing I see in the main package we gotta take some action on is reappointment of Rosemary Neves. So she'll expire the first Monday of March 2014. Pat, do we need to maybe contact her?
Point her to the,
Oh, it's for the Judicial Nominating Commission.
yes, yeah, we should.
Do you want to contact her, or I just know that you contacted the last one, but I don't know if you want to do that or if you need to.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
She wants us,
Can you send me give me the letter?
yeah, it's just a letter in the main packet.
Well, I already have one, that's what it says, so.
John, Kristen.
Just don't lose the letter. Yeah.
So what?
I told him not to lose the letter.
Okay.
Practically helpful.
Huh? Did you?
Yeah, practically helpful.
No, it was just like our price, I don't know, they can just send it to us. There's no contract or anything we have with Jackson Farmers.
So do you want to put the holiday on another agenda item future?
Well, we adopted during reorganization, but I think I think we're all on the same page as far as days and changing the birthday to floating to a small personal day. Because they don't have to adopt that until second Monday of January. Reorganization, but you do have a holiday coming up prior to that. Vice gets me how it's adopted.
So we had designated out there the road and bridge like on maps, way on business, somebody steps in and makes day-to-day decisions, or everybody just kind of does what they.
I do not know. I assume it's either it's foreman or
Alan, isn't it Alan Norman or?
I think that's typically what falls back to the foreman.
This is a resolution on processing and mapping of original land descriptions for county survey.
They're not going to do that. Encourage you to look over those, and then if you have any questions, contact Roger.
It's pretty straightforward, I mean, just looking at it, I mean,
And then you have the development permit process that Roger has to sort of attach that email to check today. That it's pretty straightforward too, and that is a requirement from the flood management program. So.
and that'll be on next.
That'll be on the 31st also.
Okay.
Kind of doing both of those. One deals with all those legal descriptions, that if it differs from what the original recorded land description was, then it puts the onus back on them to bring it to corrected or surveyed description, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then you won't have the landlocked issues.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I've never heard of a county commissioner getting involved.
Yeah.
I haven't ever heard of that. Has anybody notified the Rovers so we can get this process going on that other area?
We've reached out to them, I've not gotten a response from them.
Okay.
And similarly with, I had a discussion with Stacy Campbell, last week, he asked me to send an email, which I did. Again, and he thought he would not get a response for us until after the first of the year, which is 10 days away at that point, so. Which I thought would be fine.
We have timelines, I know, Matt has a timeline for it to, it's spring, isn't it? Isn't that kind of like our,
If we end up going to the main route, the procedure's not long.
Sure.
Before we have the service.
okay, so we're still probably timelines,
Yeah,
we're okay.
yeah, I think so.
We appoint appraiser, they appoint appraiser.
The court appoints 3 appraisers, and they have a hearing, and they meet and do evaluation, and that's the value. And then, either side has the right to appeal that decision, to that valuation to a jury trial. Well, it's half an acre, and
I've also seen where on the appeal, that it was brought by the landowners, and the appeal came back lower than the original.
yeah, and it can,
And
The
then-
risk.
Mhm.
Any further? Entertain motion to adjourn, 2:43.
I guess nobody else is coming. That's not coming in, he's out.
No, just out spreading the sand.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
Hmm?
What's this here?
48.
It's like, it's like a,
is that the Bible?
yeah, we get one like every year.
What?
Oh.
Yeah. That's not the King James version.
Oh. I just have one question. This, when I was paying out for the, I took it out of money that's in the county general, the Hirschman fund, or the money that we got from the purchase, and how much we gonna need for the day?
What did we say on that? What were we taking it out of? How much is in the, how much do we dedicate over for the rentals? Was
I
it
know you had,
125?
you had $125,000 in general fund. So I'm just curious, do you want me to take it out of there and then put money in the lease purchase for your ambulance renovation?
Where does lease purchase money?
It's sitting in a separate account. It's a separate savings account.
Okay, and is that not showing up on our budget report?
Yeah, it should be in a, well, we have it in grant. Memorial Hall is a grant.
I'd probably just take it out of Memorial Hall when it's dedicated. That'd be that's what it's dedicated for.
The rental?
Yeah.
Okay. Just wondering if I could pay it out.
Yeah.
It seems like kind of bad planning for us to borrow money and then put it in a savings account.
Huh?
But that,
It seems like kind of bad planning for us to borrow money and then put it in a savings account.
mhm.
I think we borrowed more than we needed.
Well, I mean, we did pay